Welcome to Human or Athlete, episode 13. I'm super excited to have Charlie Wakefield, formerly at Chelsea, Coventry, and now at Bromley. I might have missed a few, but we'll go with it. Happy to have you on here, bro. Brilliant. Happy to have you on here, man.
No, I
Um,
appreciate you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Brilliant. Well, let's get straight in. And for the people that kind of don't know your story, look at kind of your life through football, your journey. What was it like at Chelsea and at Coventry and at Bromley now?
Yeah, so I started, if I go way back, I started at Brighton um, as a kid. Obviously, Brighton is where I'm from originally. So obviously at the time, everyone kind of wants to, I suppose, play for Brighton. You know what I mean? That's what you're all trying to do around your local area. So that was great I got a trial there and about a 2 to 3 week trial, got signed there, which obviously I was, delighted to do. Then I moved on to playing for Chelsea when I was, I think, under 12. Yeah, under 12. I got it's crazy, because a lot of kids probably think, if you're playing for Brighton, then that's where you're going to get scouted to go on to maybe a higher up level team. But with me, it wasn't the case. I was playing for my school,
Mm-hmm.
playing the school match against a team called Dorothy Stringer, and one of the boys that I grew up with at Brighton called Isaac Christie Davis.
Yeah.
He's played for Chelsea, Liverpool,
Yeah.
and stuff. Ruben knows him well. Yeah,
Yeah.
was all together at Chelsea, and he was meant to play for Dorothy Stringer, but he'd already signed for Chelsea. And I think Chelsea kind of when you're playing for Chelsea, it's kind of you don't really play for your school. So I think they don't really want you to. And I love school football, so I would have played, but lucky enough, when I was at Brighton, they still allowed me to play for the school. And yeah, just played the game. I think we lost. It was a cup game, and after the game, I just got in the car, and my dad. I remember sitting there. My dad, and he goes, "Oh, this is a Chelsea scouts. Give me a card." And I was a big Chelsea fan. Like growing up, like loved. That was my team. So when he said that, it was just crazy. Real a kind of emotional feeling to get scouted for them. So I went on to have a trial there, and then obviously it all kick-started from there. But it's important that I say that I got scouted from a school match, because it just shows you never know who's watching. I was playing for a school, and then I've gone on to sign for Chelsea. It just shows anything can happen. You know what I mean? So yeah, kick-started from there. Had a long trial period. Wasn't easy. Had when you're at that sort of age where you're just growing, you're all these growing pains. I was getting these little injuries. It was stop-start. I remember the first day I went, because my dad's like my role model. He tells me, he's kind of brought me out the right way. And he was like, right, make sure you're prepared. You've got everything you need and all this. First day, get blistered tonight. Obviously, it's not good when you're going on trial somewhere and you happen to say to the manager, oh, my blisters are killing me. It just doesn't leave a good impression, does it? So that wasn't the best of starts. I remember coming home saying, I've got blisters, and he was running around before the shops closed trying to find me these blister plasters. That was a story. But it came down to, it was a summer evening, I remember it, and it was almost like I'd been on trial for, I think, 6 months. It was a long time. And they said to me, almost, this is it now. You're playing against Fulham. It's a derby game. There's going to be all the under 18s, 23s managers watching. Loads of people are going to be watching. And it's almost like, this is your opportunity to show us that we should sign you. So I remember going in the changing room. Ruben was playing in the game. And when I come in and my name was number 10. I'm thinking, number 10, like I've never played number 10 in my life. I'm a winger. And obviously when it comes down to a big moment in your kind of young academy career, comes down to one game, you're seeing that you're out of position. You kind of think, right, number 10. And you know what? I went on and I had a real good game. I think I scored one. I think we won, like, might have been 4-2 or something, set one up. I just managed to, kind of deal with that pressure and, embrace it. And as I was walking off the pitch, they said to me, look, yeah, we want to sign you. And I remember that moment. That was a real good moment. My dad was watching, and, that car journey home was a nice journey, So yeah, and then after that, it just kind of went from there, and I went from strength to strength. Really, after I signed, I was confident. You've got to remember, like when I was at Brighton, I kind of got to that stage. I'd been there a couple of years, and I was like, I was confident in that environment around them players. I felt like I was one of the better players there. And then when you get told you're going to Chelsea, I remember the first day I went in, my dad drove me up, and we went into the building, and you go into the reception at Cobham. I don't know if you've played there, and you've got on the door, it says academy, it says players and staff only. So obviously this was the point where this is it now. I've got to go on my own, And I remember my dad saying to me, like, you're going to be all right. And I remember thinking, yeah, I'm sweet, I'm good. And I walked through the door. I walked down the corridor, because Cobham is like a narrow corridor. It's got loads of changing rooms. And there was a guy there. And I remember saying, like, oh, yeah, I'm here on trial. And the guy was like, yeah, okay, you're in this room. And I remember going in that changing room door, and like you go from being confident in your environment, like I said, at Brighton, to like this out of water shy boy from Brighton. Like a lot of boys were from London. They're confident, already in their lives. Have seen a bit, when you had the likes of like Tammy Abraham, Fikayo Tomori, some other names that have gone on to play, good high level football in there, and you're kind of like, wow, welcome to the so-called big boy world, So that was a moment in itself. But then so I kick-started from getting the contract, and just kind of went on and was confident from there, really, and just managed to get myself another contract, then a scholar, and then got offered my pro. And then everything was good. Played in the FA Youth Cup. We won that. UEFA Champions League, we won that. To be fair, there's a couple of funny stories involving that. But yeah, and then I went on to 23s football, and then when I was about 18, that's where it started. All the injuries started coming along with my hamstring, and probably the most difficult time in my career that was, because between the ages of, in my opinion, 18 to 21s, where you're knocking on first team doors, whether that's at Chelsea. To be fair, like a lot of players go on loan when they're at Chelsea, because it's changing now, but it was hard back then. So you're trying to look to go on loan or break into a first team between age of 18 to 21. And when you kind of get everything put on hold through no one's fault, really, it can be difficult. It can be hard, because you're just like almost asking yourself, why me at the time? Like, what's going on? So that was a tricky time in my career. I've always been a real positive person, though, and had a bulletproof mindset. That's how I look at it. So I was strong mentally, but again, it was still tough. But I managed to pull through that. And then after Chelsea, I signed for Coventry. Went on trial at a few places. I think I went to about 6-7 clubs during that time, just to see what was what before the window opened, and opted to go for Coventry. Went there again, had a couple of hamstring injuries that the timing of them weren't great. Like looking back now, it was like the timing of them was crucial. Like just before pre-season tour was one of them, and I was coming back in the other, and the manager, Mark Robbins, had known my previous history with my hamstrings, and after I'd done it again there with him, kind of puts it a little bit in your mind to, am I going to be able to cope type thing, which I understand. And then that was it, really. And now I'm at Bromley, looking to kickstart my career again, so, it's all positive. It's all good.
Love it. What a journey. You've been through a lot.
Mate, crazy. It's crazy.
I'd want to hear more about, kind of talk me through that journey through injuries, what you've had, and kind of the mental journey through those, because obviously that's where, like you said, that's when the mindset comes into question. That's when everything is, being tested as a person, as a player, in all the situations, off the pitch, on the pitch. How did you kind of face them? How did you deal with them? And, even like the tough times, like what was that like?
Mm. So I've always kind of said and gone by the saying, like, everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've always said that to myself. So even after the third time, the fourth time my hamstring went, I was always saying, oh, everything happens for a reason. Don't worry, like, I'll be back. And I think the moment you start looking negatively into the injuries, and people obviously get depressed and stuff. But the moment you have that mindset of doubt and negativity, then of course it's just gonna add more and more problems to your mind. And the mind's the most powerful thing. So the moment you start having more and more deep thoughts of, you know, am I going to pull through this, etc., it's not good, you know. So it's important to just keep a real positive mindset. And that's what I managed to do during that whole period. You know, obviously not really many people know my story because I didn't really take to social media at the time. I'm not big on social media. I've not got Twitter. I've not got Snapchat. Obviously, I've had them previously for a little bit, but I was never really big on them. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I like Instagram and I've got that, but I didn't really take to that. So the only people that have really been on the journey with me, I'd say, is my close family and my close friends. They've seen the setbacks and kind of they've seen how I've dealt with it, and I'm blessed in that respect that I've got that mentality. You know, I don't really know where it comes from, but I've certainly got a bulletproof mindset to just, you know, go again. You know, and also there's a lot more worse people off than me. You know, there's people out here, I don't know, for example, getting cancer, you know, or you know, people losing loved ones, and that's where, you know, I've got my cousin, I've got a small family. I've got two sisters, my mum and my dad, and then my mum only had one other sibling, and she had no kids, and then my dad had a brother, and he only had one kid, so I've only actually got one first cousin. And I look at him, and I think about my journey. I think, you know, the times where maybe I felt a little bit sorry for myself and think, why is it me? You know, what's going on here? Now I look at him, and he's lost his mum, and he's lost his dad. You know, he's not got any parents, and that was by the age of 20. You know, so, you know, there's always someone worse off, and, you know, you just gotta be grateful in life, you know. So it's difficult. I feel like the subject of, you know, mental health and for young footballers is massive at the moment. It's a real hot topic. You know, everyone's suffering, especially due to COVID. And I just want to be a voice because I feel like I've been there. Do you know what I mean? I've been in that. I've kind of had everything in terms of being at Chelsea's academy to, you know, trying to break onto the first team scene, to, like, in a click of my fingers, kind of losing it all through injury and now having to work your way back up. So I've experienced, like, the darkest of dark moments, and I've experienced some real high moments. So I just want to give advice to those boys that are going through it right now.
There's so many places to go with all what you said. It's there's a lot there.
Crazy, isn't
it? So let's first kind of break down. So what you were kind of saying, and what really stands out to me, is the two bits you kind of said about obviously looking at how other people have it a lot worse off, and that kind of perspective of that everything happens for a reason. And in doing that, to break it down, it's kind of like you're saying, you know, this isn't all about me. Like, the world doesn't revolve around me. It's not happening to me and my suffering just because it's me. And by doing that, like, you're literally taking so much, like, guilt and so much pressure off your shoulders from that perspective. And like you said, to look at, you know, the suffering of others, and I comes from, like, I don't know, the Dalai Lama and stuff like that. They say that the suffering is all because of, like, the self-regard, your self-importance, and to have that humility and that, you know, lack of kind of, like, I guess, arrogance and all these things, even though it would be so easy for you to have that because, you know, like you said, you had it all. Everyone would look up to you as, like, you know, the Chelsea players, stuff like that, and to have that kind of calmness in all that kind of, you know, chaos is really inspirational and an incredible perspective.
I appreciate it.
And I think a lot of people, you know, by looking outside of yourself and looking for others and to help others and to do that, that's an amazing already place to start to take the suffering away from you. But talk to me about kind of, I think, you know, going into depth, if that's obviously okay, in those dark moments, what was it like? And you said, you know, you have that positive mindset. Can you, you know, it's possible to go break that down even further. What does that look like? What thoughts do you work on? What tools do you use? How do you you know, you said that comes naturally, but what is that process like for you?
I think self-talk's a big thing, you know. I talk to myself a lot in my mind, especially during those times.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more than I speak to anyone else, you know. You're just having little thoughts of yourself. You know, it's hard to break down. I guess if I just explain it in more detail, so obviously everything's going well. You're playing, like I said, you know, you've won youth cups, you've won champion UEFA youth leagues, you're playing in the 23s at Chelsea, which, you know, going through those age groups, arguably we was the best kind of, you know, team in the country, even maybe the world at the time. Mm-hmm. You know, what we was known for. Kind of from under 16 level, that team, we stayed together and went up. So we was not, you know, we used to win a lot of games. And to go from, like I said, everything's good, you know, you're earning good money, you're healthy, you've got your family, you've got a girlfriend at the time, like life's good. And then in the blink of an eye, it changes, it flips. You don't even know it's coming. And then I can understand that people that aren't maybe mentally strong at the time, I can understand how it can have a big effect on them, you know, because not everyone's mentally strong. And just because you're not mentally strong in certain areas doesn't mean you're not mentally strong. You know, everyone's mentally strong at different points in their lives, you know, at different things. So, you know, me seeing people committing suicide at the moment, young footballers, and people talking about it, it really hits home. And I'm just like, you know, not enough's done. Not enough is done, in my opinion. And that's not enough's done by football clubs. You know, I'll openly say that. You know, I'm not trying to get at specific clubs, but it's true. But I also feel like it's kind of a new topic that's only just being spoken about. Mm-hmm. So they have time to work on, you know, making something happen at the clubs, you know. But it's definitely an eye-opener and more needs to be done. But when I had my first hamstring injury, I remember I was playing in, I was training, and I just started feeling my hamstring. It was a little bit tight. And so you know, when a hamstring goes, when you pull it, like you don't get a warning and it's gone. And then like, that's it. You know, you can't help it. You can't potentially walk on it. You can't jog. You can't run. But the training, when I was training, it kind of came on gradually. So I was thinking, okay, like my hamstring is getting a bit tight. The more I train, it's getting worse. So that's it. I'm going to go in. I said to the manager, "Oh, hamstring sore. I'm going to have to go in." And he was like, "All right, that's fine." And I went in, and then I had about 10 days, I think, 2 weeks rehab. Mm-hmm. And then I was deemed to be back fit. I think I trained one session, and then the manager pulled me into his office, and we was playing in an EFL Cup game at the time, which was huge for us because it was like academy boys getting the opportunity to play against league teams, playing against men, and this opportunity to do well, etc. And he brought me into his office, and he just said, "Look, we're playing against Exeter tomorrow, and I want you to start. You know, you're going to start." And obviously at the time, I'd not really had obviously any hamstring history. I didn't know how to cope with them. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm fit. Yeah, of course, I'm buzzing. I appreciate that he wants me to start. So I'll start the game. And then I started the game. And then after 30 minutes, pulled my hamstring for the first time, properly pulled it. And I remember watching the clip back. It's funny because like, I'm dribbling and then like I almost fall over. Mm-hmm. And obviously the reason I fell over was because halfway through the dribble, I pulled it. And then I'm like, going on here? I've never done this to myself before. Yeah. And you kind of have to go down, and that was the first time it happened. That was on my left hamstring. So that kept me out for 8 weeks. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was out for 8 weeks. Then I come back thinking it's bulletproof now, it's strong, got tested by those. They're saying, yeah, it's good. And then it wasn't long after I came back, and I got brought on for like 30 minutes, I think. And then I done my right hamstring, gone. So now I'm thinking, fuck, like, this is crazy. I've just come back from my left, and now I've pulled my right hamstring. And then I went through the procedure of getting it back fit again. Basically, I'd done exactly the work that the physios told me to do on the left. I've done it on the right. You know, the same physios, the same people, the same equipment. They just said, look, it's common, it can happen. You're a quick player. We'll do the same as what we've done, and then hopefully that's it. So I remember I'd done it all again. And obviously those moments are dark moments because, you know, when you're watching all the boys go out to training you'll know, like when you watch the boys go out to training, but you're going into the physio room, that's when it hits home the most.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to be in a physio room, do they? No one wants to be doing. You can see out the window. You're watching the boys train, and you're thinking, "Why am I not out there? I just want to be out there. I want to be playing. I want to be doing what I love." So I can understand. Players talk about it and they say how hard that is. It's definitely tough.
What was your mindset like after the second one?
So after the second one, again, it was early days compared to how many I've had. So it was more, okay, it's happened. We go again. Let's not get down about it. Let's not moan about it. Let's not feel sorry for myself. It's life. Like, everyone gets injured. Crack on. Got back fit. And obviously, when you've been out for a little while, you're not going to get told, oh, you're going to start today and you're going to come in and play. It's almost like you get given 15 minutes off the bench, 20, half an hour, and you build it up to build that robustness. And what was happening was every time, so I'll train for a couple of days, and obviously training is completely different to a game. Like, as you know, you can't train match fitness. You have to play games to build up that speed. You can't do it in training. And got to the game, and what was happening was I was coming on for those 15, 20 minutes, and it would go again, and it would go again. So this is, if I fast forward, it's happened about 3 times now on the right leg, 1 on the left, so 4 overall. So now I'm starting to think, this isn't right. This is unheard of. I'm 18 years of age and I'm having all these hamstring problems. I understand a couple, but not 4. It's not 3, one hamstring in that short space of time. And it got to the point where it happened 7 times, I think. Yeah, 7 times. And it got to the point where I'm playing for arguably one of the best teams in the world. So you're gonna have the best doctors, you're gonna have the best physios. And it was like the first team physios and the doctors were involved now in me because of how unique my injury was. They was giving advice to the academy doctors. They was all coming together and having meetings and kind of going, okay, what's going on with Charlie? What have you done? Going through the plan that we had, the rehab, what can we do different? And this is no fault of any of them, but where my injuries were so unique, no one knew what to do. No one knew the advice. There just wasn't any, because they tried it so many times. So it got to the point where it happened 7 times. And obviously I'm like 18, I'm 19 now, let's say. And obviously I'm thinking, wow, I've not played any football in so long. That's where obviously mentally it can break people. It can kill people off, like, with their mind, because of you're watching everyone, you're coming in every day and you're going into the physio room and you're in the change room, all the boys are speaking about the game, they're speaking about training, and you're just not involved in the discussion at all. Also, you're forgotten about. So like the managers in football, if you're not playing, then you're forgotten about. That's just how life is, and I understand managers like that, because they need to pick a team that's going to win them 3 points, get them 3 points of the week. So if you're injured, it's like, oh, he's injured, don't care about him. That's how it is. And until you're fit, I remember so many times in the gym, I'm like I'm working so hard, and it's just me and my shadow. That's it. It's just me and my shadow. And I'm like doing sessions where I'm going, this isn't even appreciated. Only I can appreciate this. And that was kind of like now some of my best moments mentally. Only I know the work I've put in it, and it doesn't get appreciated because, well, if you're injured and you're in the gym, then you should be working hard to get back fit. That's how it's looked at a lot of the time. So yeah, got to the point where I said to Chelsea, I can't do this. I can't do this rehab anymore. I can't do the same program. And to be fair to them, they agreed and said, look, we need to have a real look at what we're doing with this program. So we arranged to see a specialist in London who's like meant to be the top hamstring specialist. And I remember we drove to London, me and the physio that I'd done all the work with, and we was in there 5 minutes. Like, it was the quickest thing I've ever done. We got there and he goes, oh, well, I've checked all the scans you've had on your MRIs, because I've had about 50 MRI scans of the hamstrings. He goes, I've checked all them and it's so obvious to me that you need surgery. So obviously that moment was like another wow, because I'd been out for, let's say, 18 months already. he said to me, you're going to be out for potentially 9 months to a year with surgery.
No.
So I'm thinking at this point, wow, like, of course, I just want to get my hamstring sorted, but surgery on the hamstring is not an easy thing. They've got anything that goes wrong, and a big part of my game is my speed on the wing. I'm trying to get past players. I need my speed. So obviously, I'm having a discussion with my mum and dad at home. We're saying, what are we going to do? Anyway, so then Chelsea had a meeting amongst themselves. It was like all the best doctors and all the best physios got together in the first team injury department room, and they had a discussion. Anyway, then after they pulled me in the room and they're like, right, you're not going to have surgery. So I'm thinking, okay, well, what am I going to have then? I need something different. And they was like, you're going to have stem cell treatment. So I'm thinking, have you heard of stem cell treatment before?
Is it like the things that the stem cells, the ones that can adapt to the muscles or whatever, something like that?
High tech, crazy. I'm thinking, what is this? Like, never heard of it in my life. And it was like a real new thing. But the results that had been proven were like really good. So they was like, we're going to go with that. And they said, you're not going to be out for as long as operation. So I'm like, okay, perfect. So I flew to Barcelona, had a mini like surgery type thing there where they take the bone marrow out of my hips. It's weird. Like, they took the bone marrow out of my hips.
To put it in your hamstring.
Then it had to go to a laboratory in Italy. So I had to take it to Italy in a laboratory. It grew for a month in this lab. Then a month later, I flew back to Barcelona. I remember I got a flight out there on my own. I met the physio out there because he was doing something else. So got there, and then it's crazy. So you go into this room, and it was like, obviously you get dressed into, like, the hospital gown that they get, and then you go on this bed, and then when you're ready to do the procedure, you have to. So like they push me through on the bed, and then there's this queue of people that are all waiting to go and get different, obviously, stem cell treatments done. And it's like a line of people. Anyway, I got to the front, and then, like, because it's so, you've got, like, the hygiene's crazy. You get to the front of this door, and it's like this big metal door, and it isn't like a normal way you just push through the door and he takes it or she takes it the other side and all that. You have to attach the bed, and then they, like, roll the bed through this door, and then you're on the other side of, like, the hospital, and then it was weird. And I remember thinking, like, I've not experienced this before.
In Spanish as well.
Yeah, they're all talking Spanish. Where am I going here? Like, they're taking me. And then I remember going into the procedure room, and then for the first 40 minutes, they're just cleaning my hamstring for about 40 minutes. Keep wiping it. Because obviously it needs to be as clean as whatever. I'm just sitting there thinking, what is going on? And then they have to put an injection in, and then they have to move it about and find the right area and then inject it. And it was a crazy procedure. So I had that, and then Chelsea. So then I flew back, and then Chelsea said to me, they was like, okay, you've had a real hard time mentally. You need to turn off for 10 days. After having this procedure, the doctors recommend that you have 10 days of rest. So they was like to me, you can go on holiday if you want, but don't go anywhere hot. So I had a girlfriend at the time, and I'm like, I'm buzzing, like, yeah, let's get away. So I got home that night, and I said to her, like, I've got 10 days off. Where do you want to go? And we had a little look, and we was like, let's go to New York. So it was like November time. Footballers can't go away in November. So we booked a holiday. We went to New York for 5 days. Like, unreal. Probably like one of the best holidays I've had. But the flight was like 7 hours there, 7 hours back. It was over a short period of time. So we had the holiday. I got back, and then I was on my first day into training. So where I used to live was 45 minutes from the training ground. I was on my first day to training, and I remember driving, and I started feeling pain in my chest. So I'm thinking, I've not felt this before. What is this? And obviously, the further I'm going in the journey, the worse the pain's getting. It's building up. And I'm starting to struggle to breathe. So I'm thinking, what is going on? Like, I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't know whether to, I'm just thinking almost the worst at the time. And obviously I get onto the motorway and it's getting really bad. And I'm thinking, like, I need to call an ambulance. And I was thinking, well, if I call an ambulance, I've got to pull over on the M25. I don't know where I am on the M25. The M25 is a long motorway.
Yeah, it's not a fun one either.
Not a fun one. So I thought, fuck it, I've just got to get to training. So I remember speeding to training. Obviously, it's getting worse and worse. I get near Cobham, the windy roads. I start feeling really dizzy, sick. Was all over the gaff. Managed to get to training though, and I didn't park in the spot. I drove as close to the front door, academy building door, as I could. And I remember getting out of the car, like where I had so much pain. I was like, crouched, walking into the academy building, and luckily enough, like the academy building, as you walk in on the right is the physio room. So straight away the physio room. And I've walked in, and lucky enough there was one guy there called Sam, one of the physios, and I've just like collapsed on the bed, and I just remember saying to him, like, I can't breathe, like, and he was like, what's going on? Next thing you know, I'm in like the private physio room with about 8 physios on this bed, oxygen, injections, all sorts. And Sam, who saw me, he was the first person to saw me. He called what it was. It was a collapsed lung, like a pneumothorax. So he was like, right, we're going to have to rush you to hospital. So they rushed me to the nearest hospital, in and out, got an ambulance, got rushed to hospital, and then had to get an inject. Like what they had to do is they had to inject into my chest and then suck all the blocked air out of my lungs. So I had all that. It was crazy because I had it, and then almost like 30 minutes after they'd done that, I felt all right again because it's all been.
Yeah.
So then I had to stay overnight in one of the main hospitals in London, and then I was bedside for 2 months. So I had 2 months just.
Mad.
I just had all my hamstring, and then this is like come on top. Obviously, I'm just like, wow. But what I done was I looked at it in a way of like, this is a blessing in disguise, because what's actually happened is I've had a collapsed lung, which obviously no one wants, but it's going to allow my hamstring time to where I'm not going in and a physio telling me, oh, do some bridges or do some hamstring strength, this. Like, it's just going to let nature do its thing, which is a blessing in disguise, because ever since I've never had hamstring injury on that specific tendon area. So yeah, I mean, at that point, I've been through all. I've had all them hamstring injuries and the collapsed lung, and that's probably the point where you're going, wow, I've missed so much football. It was a crazy time, crazy period that was.
What a journey! That's blown me away. Wow, that's crazy. So I mean, you've got to kind of say, as cliche as it is, that all of that, the strength mentally to have kept going. Like, literally, how did you keep getting up every day, trying to get back into rehab, trying to go through everything? Like, that must have been incredibly hard.
I don't know. I honestly feel like I was just lucky and born to naturally have that mindset. It's almost hard to teach that mindset. But then again, going through everything I'd done only made me stronger. Easy to say, but it's true.
Yeah.
Going through that made my mindset just bulletproof. And now I look at life and nothing can faze me as far as I'm. I've been through it all in terms of my job as a footballer, what I've been through, and I've got so much held in almost to get off my chest. But that's why I want to help others, because I've got so much to help. I've got so much to advice I feel I can give on these players. Because I'm still on my journey, and it's like, it's easier said than done. It's easy for me to get back to the top, playing in the Premier League, the Championship, whatever, and then saying, oh, this is my story. I'm now back here and I went through this. Like, it's easy to, obviously it's not easy to do that, but it's easy to tell the story when you've done it. But I'm almost doing it now because I'm on that journey still. So I'm currently at Bromley, and I love it at Bromley. You know, it's a great club, and I'm enjoying my football again, and I'm playing in the National League, and really and actually and just enjoying playing football, which I haven't been able to do in a while. But I just feel like with what I've been through, I want boys that are similar to age to me, younger than me, older than me, to almost be on this journey with me now. I'm on mine and they're on theirs, and we can help each other instead of me achieving what I want. Because the time it takes to do that, people are going to be committing suicide. They're going to be they need the help now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's profound. I think that's incredible, and it shows that, you know, the energy you get from flipping something like that, from turning it into this, and to getting through it, and like you said, still going through it, is something that can be used for good. And it's you know, inspirational to so many other people out there, and I really do think you can impact so many people out of in going through this right now. Because what I find so you know, amazing is that there's so many people, like, when you're not playing football, and for a lot of us footballers, athletes in general, that's our life. That's every day. That's what we expect. That's what we're used to. And when you're not playing it, life obviously feels really bare, really empty. And then also kind of like you come back and, you know, trying to enjoy football again is really kind of like, at first it's great. And then you kind of like, you get that big question. And this is kind of my question as to how did you deal with that whole thing? Like, are you ever going to be the same again when you come back from injury? What was that like? Because that's, you know, I think difficult in itself.
Yeah, so many people doubt you. You know, man, doubt you. Like, he won't be the same player because you've been out for so long. I was known for being quick and direct. So if your hamstring goes that many times, you're not going to be as quick as you was. You know, there's so many factors, doubtful factors to add to your mind. But I just block it all out. You know, and the best answer is to just prove people wrong and show. You know, there's a certain list that I've got that I'll certainly be proven wrong, and it's not about proving anyone wrong, to be honest. It's about proving yourself right. You know, like what I tell myself I'm going to achieve, and that's it. That's my mindset. I won't until I achieve that. I won't be satisfied. You know, so yeah, it's a difficult one because when I was going, obviously I'm playing for Chelsea. I've done my hamstring so many times, and Chelsea offered me a contract whilst I'd been injured. So imagine I'd signed the contract, basically been injured for the whole of that contract, and you know, thankfully to them, they said, look, we're going to offer you a new contract because we believe in you still, and I was grateful to them for that. So I signed a new 2-year contract, and then obviously the injuries just continued. Or I've had another contract being injured. You know, I'm on good money, not playing. Not my fault I'm not playing, but it got to a point where I spoke to Neil Bath, who's the academy manager at Chelsea. I had a great relationship with him, and he pulled me in his office and just said, look, like, we're not going to be able to offer you a new contract because you've not played. We've offered you one whilst you've been injured. And I said, Neil, like, I get that. And to be honest, I'm not just saying this, but I've been speaking to my agent at the time, and I was saying to him, I want to leave anyway. You know, I just want to have a fresh start somewhere where I can, you know, I'll take a pay cut. I don't care. I want to go somewhere. It's not about the money at the moment. It's about me playing, and the money will come, and where I want to be will come in time. You know, so I was more than happy to leave as well. You know, obviously I spent 8 years at the club, so you know it's always sad when you have to leave. But I was ready. It was my time to go. It was my time to sign somewhere else. I'm feeling recovered now from the hamstring injuries, and it was time to kick on. So when I went on that trial period to the clubs, of course, when you're speaking to clubs, whether it was Chelsea speaking to clubs for me or my agent, that's a lot of what people are talking about. They're doubting you. Not doubting me, sorry, but that's the one thing they're saying. They're saying, oh, is he all right? I mean, he's had all their hamstring injuries. And a lot of the clubs were saying, okay, we'll have him in. We know his capabilities. We know him from before he had his injuries, you know, what player he was and the potential he has. But we need to be sure. We need to see it. So it was, you know, that I remember that period. For the first couple of days, I was like, trial. Like, I don't want to go on. Why am I going on trial? Like, why do I have to go on trial? Like, ability wise, I'm good enough. I shouldn't have to go on trial. Like, almost like, you know, these clubs should just be offering me a contract because of how I felt, you know, I could affect the game. But then after a day, you understand, well, hold a minute, you know, you have been out injured for a while, so you can see where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I always remember being at Chelsea, trialists would come in, and I'd always, you know, make sure they was all right, because I was that kid once, you know, just be friendly, you know, make sure they're settled in, because it's not nice when you come on trial to potentially a big club, in terms of you can be shy, you can be a bit nervous. So I always made sure of that. And then all of a sudden I found myself in their shoes now, you know, as a 19-year-old, I'm going on trials at places. Like, I wouldn't have thought that would be the case, but that's life. So that time, I'd say, yeah, that was where doubts would come into people's minds. Oh, is he the same player? And I went to where did I go? I went to Wigan.
Mm-hmm.
I went to QPR. I went to Brentford. I went to Swansea, and I went to Millwall. So I'm that new kid walking into those doors, you know, as a trialist type thing. I experienced that, you know, and to be honest, that's just who I am. I was like, no, I'm happy. I'll go in there. I'll be polite. I'll crack on. I'll get to know everyone. And all those clubs, you know, the boys were all great. So I've gone in there, and then it was like, so the first club I went to was QPR, and I loved it there, but the money just wasn't right. You know, and again, I wasn't after any money, but obviously there's a certain extent where you've got to cover kind of living. And yeah, that just didn't work out. I think I went to Brentford. That didn't work out. Got rejected there. And again, to be fair, I went to all those clubs, and I felt like every single one of them clubs, I showed what I was about. You know, I was happy. I walked away from every one of them clubs going, yeah, I'm confident. I performed. I've shown them what I'm all about. So yeah, QPR, the money just wasn't quite right. Brentford just didn't work out. And then I went to Wigan, and again, done really well there. So I played there, played a game for them, went home. Then they called me that night saying, oh, you know, you've done really well. We want you to train with the first team tomorrow. So obviously I'm buzzing. I'm thinking, yeah, I've left a good impression. Obviously drove all the way, it was like 5 hours from Brighton. I drove home after having like a week there, playing a game, doing well. Then they called me and say, you need to come up. I think it was the next day to train with the first team. So I got all the way home.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, Mum, do you want to come with me up to Wigan? So took my mum with me to Wigan. I remember I ran out of petrol on the motorway as well. I had a nightmare. And then got there. I was meant to train with the first team, and then it ends up being like loads of the 23 lads were with the first team. So it was almost like you think, oh, I'm training with the first team, but then loads of lads have come up anyway. And it's like this in-house game, which is based on the first team players. So it was like, didn't really get the ball. Yeah. It was like, kept getting stopped. If we had possession. So, and again, there, it was like something, you know, I was quite happy. I was more than happy to sign for them. But there was just always little things, whether it be the money side of things, which again sounds like I'm after a lot of money, but it wasn't. It was just at those sort of times did the clubs have under 23s kind of money. You know what I mean? I wasn't sure. And again, they was maybe thinking about my hamstring. And then I went to Swansea. So I drove up to Wales, loved it there, trained with the first team. Graham Potter was the manager at the time, who's now the Brighton manager, funny enough. And again, thought I'd done really well. And then, so I was just looking at all these clubs, you know, I was, you know, seeing if it was for me, and also seeing if I was for them. And then I went to Millwall, and there was the final club, and it was on deadline day. I'd spent like a week or two there, and they said, look, yeah, we want to sign you. So I was going to sign for Millwall on deadline day. I remember it. I was training, and then in the warm-up, this guy come out, and he started shouting my name, and he was like, oh, yeah, your agent's on the phone, so you need to go in. So I'm doing the warm-up. So I've ran in, called up my agent, and was like, what's going on? And he was like, oh, Coventry want to sign you. Like first team football, Coventry want to sign you, like 18-month contract. Let's get changed and let's get up the motorway. So I was just like, so the manager came into the change and was like, everything all right? And I was like, to be honest, I'm going Coventry. And it was one of them. And he completely understood. The manager was a great guy, but he completely understood. So literally done the warm up, went in, got changed, went to Coventry, So yeah, Coventry, I didn't have, it's funny because I went almost on like a trial thing to all these other clubs. And almost for nothing really, you think about it. Great.
And then,
train. But Coventry didn't even, they just put a contract on the table for me. So I'm grateful to Coventry because they showed belief. And I signed there and I made my debut. I signed on the Thursday, trained on the Friday, and then made my debut for them on the Saturday in front of 26,000, I think, at the Ricoh Arena. So yeah, that was, great. A great group of lads there. But again, just that's when the hamstring injuries occurred again. Not the same as the Chelsea days, but a couple of new injuries occurred, and it just put me back. It put me back. The team went up, done great. And that's football, that's just how it is. So, and then COVID hit in March and my contract was run out in June. So I was home in Brighton from March till June. Coventry was still paying me, but I knew that my contract was going to be up at the end of that year, at the end of June. So I kept myself in real good shape, was running, doing my own runs, road runs, gym. I felt really good because I knew that the time would come where I'd have to go on trial somewhere else and try and get myself a club sorted. And and I went to MK Dons for like a week to just train because Russell Martins lives in Brighton and he's obviously their manager. So I trained there, and then that's when the Harrogate thing came about, and I went to Harrogate and. Again, I enjoyed it there at Harrogate. It was good. And again, I felt, I'm a very honest guy. I felt like I'd done good. Yeah. And it was like you're negotiating things with your agent and the club, and it's back and forth, and it just didn't suit. So that's where I was going. Like probably a lot of kids, other boys. I've not got a club. COVID's here. I'm not getting paid. I'm 22. I've not been paid for since June, July, August. I had about 4 months where I just didn't earn a penny. And you're going, wow, what's going on? I'm speaking to my agent. Is there any clubs? No, not at the moment. They obviously sorted out Harrogate for me, but after that, nothing. So that's where you're deep in thought, and you're like, wow, there's no clubs here. Maybe a little bit of doubt, because you're like, I've experienced it all at 22 type thing. And now there's no club, nothing. And yeah, that was a hard time, I guess. And I remember I got back from Harrogate and I had 2 weeks off where I just didn't train. I just had to refresh my mind and had 2 weeks off. And then I was thinking, right, let's go again. Got to go again. You just got to keep going. You can't. I wasn't going to let anything defeat me or stop me. I was like, let's go again. And then just crazy social media, Instagram, got a message from Wildstone, I think the goalkeeper coach there, and he slid in my DMs. And he was like, he goes, oh yeah, hi mate, the gaffer wants you at Wildstone. Have you got a club? This is this. And I typed in Wildstone to my Safari, and I see there was in the National League, and I was like, oh, perfect. National League's a great league. If you do well there, you get yourself back in the league. It's a very scouted league, and to be honest, it was just a fresh start, and it's all I had. I didn't have anything else, I just appreciated them reaching out to me, and I took the opportunity and I went there, and there were so many players going there. I'm thinking, every time I turn up to training, there was a new 10 other lads almost. It was like the manager was just having everyone there. And to be fair, I made a good impression. I stood out and rolled round to they. So this is what it was. So I'm thinking, they said they want to sign me on a non-contract, so they can only cover my expenses. Yeah. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm gone from being at Chelsea to being on, from my age, great money to, oh yeah, we'll offer you to pay your expenses, life's changed. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. I'll take it. I'll do it. I'm not, do you know what? This will, in the long run, I'll be able to look back and laugh at this. I was playing for free, basically. I was traveling up an hour and 40 minutes to
Mm-hmm.
Wilton. We was training at a school, 3G, didn't even have training kit for the first few weeks. And I was like, I'll do it. Like, it's got to be
Yeah.
done. What else am I going to do? I'm certainly not going to get a job anywhere else, just because I'm not giving up on my dream. And played so first game of the season, played Yeovil. Started, so I managed to get myself in the first 11. Played well. Yeovil then the next day offered me a contract, which was obviously like a lot, like they were offering me an actual contract. So, and I remember thinking, I'm enjoying it at Wilstone. You know, I'm actually settled here. You know, it's for a change. I'm quite enjoying it. I'm grateful, like really grateful that Yeovil want to give me that opportunity. But let me just speak to Wilstone first. You know, I want to say to them, look, Yeovil. I called up the manager and I said to him, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, Yeovil have offered me a contract. This is how much they've offered me. This. I want to play for you. What, can you match it or not? And then he said, let me speak to the chairman. Spoke to the chairman, and then they offered me a contract, like a very similar contract, the Yeovil one. But I didn't sign it. So for one reason or the other, I didn't sign it, but I was still getting paid the so-called wage. If I was basically on a non-contract, but getting paid what I would on this contract. So it was almost best of both worlds for me.
Yeah.
Because if I wanted to go, I could. They couldn't tie me in, and I was still getting money. And then I played like the first 5 games, got myself in team of the week, scored, was enjoying my football again, and just happy to be playing. And life was good. And then we played the FA Cup game, and I got sent off in the game, got a straight red for like this off the ball. The kid, like, he just conned the ref and the linesman. He just went down, like, he played it well to be like, played it well. And that was me, straight red. So obviously now the club aren't happy with me. But to be fair, I didn't, put my hands up if I do something wrong. I was just baffled that they sent me off. I didn't do anything, type thing. Just after that, a couple of incidents happened with the club. I won't go into detail about it, but obviously they weren't happy with that. I was still owed a little bit of money because of from when I originally was on a expenses contract to then signing this so-called contract. I was still owed a little bit of money that I was just asking for, which was fair in my opinion. Overall, I was really grateful to the manager, Dean Brennan, for offering me the opportunity, because no one else did, and I'll always be grateful to Dean for doing that, because I was literally like down and out in terms of I didn't have a club. And then lucky enough, Bromley came about. I was still playing for Wilstone, still playing games and whatever, but they're full time, and to the thought of getting back into full-time football, I just felt like I was ready for that again. I'd had a nice little break mentally from being part-time and focusing on myself in the gym and that, to then going full-time at Bromley. So, and then since then I've been here, and I've loved it here. I got sent off again. Sounds like I get sent off every week. I got sent off again a couple of weeks ago, and to be fair, like, I put my hands up. This time it was a sending off. Like, I just reacted, heat of the moment thing when you had a funny 5 seconds, and I got sent off, and then so I had 3 game suspension. But now I'm back, and kind of you learn from it. I've learned injury-free, been injury-free for a while, and just enjoying football again. I'm in a good stage of my life.
It's a crazy journey. What advice would you give to your past self, and like from everything that you've learned over this whole journey?
Advice? I thought I wouldn't have done it any differently. Honestly, wouldn't have done it any differently. I feel like that question I would say to myself in the early days, why me? I now look at it, for a while I've been looking at it, is the mentally strongest people get given the strongest. But I was meant to be on this journey. I was meant to be given this difficult road.
Yeah.
That's like that no one's really ever heard of in football. Like for me to have multiple 10 hamstring injuries, the collapsed lung and all that by the time I'm 22, like I don't know anyone else that's kind of had that. Of course, everyone's had, you know, ACLs are horrible injuries. I know one of my close friends in football has done it 3 times now. Like, again, that's a horrible injury. And I know a kid that's had a car crash and then he had his leg amputated. So, like, everyone's got a story, but I'm just, with mine, I just felt like it was unique through kind of no one really knowing, kind of unheard of. So, advice, I just feel like I wouldn't change it. I feel like I've been given this test and I'll pull through it. And if anything, it's just made me the person that I want to become, you know, like just mentally strong. But it isn't about me. I want to just help others, you know, as fast as I can. Because when I see people like committing suicide, it's that are young footballers. I mean, you're meant to love football. I mean, when you're a kid playing in the park with your mates or on a school break time, you don't think, oh, when I'm older, I'm gonna commit suicide through playing. You know what I mean? It's a game that you should love and enjoy playing. The thought of people doing that, it's crazy, and it's just an eye opener that so much is needed to be done.
Yeah.
So if I can be a voice, then that's my goal.
Do you think football kind of, you know, I think with everything going off, I think one of the other guys, Craig Tanner on the podcast, said we've got throwing coaches, but not psychologists at the training ground, and that was like a real thing. Yeah. And do you think football kind of, and I don't know about you anymore, I know how you see it and how you, I think obviously with your journey through it, but do you think football or yourself kind of fears that mental health in a way, or has done at least for the last however many years?
I feel it's crazy because when you speak to someone, you just immediately you feel like you've got it off your chest. You know what I mean? When I used to speak to someone about it, you just feel better after. So I think initially you might not want to, but it's like a workout. People don't want to go and do a workout, but when they've done it, they feel good about it. It's kind of relate that to getting stuff off your chest. Maybe you don't want to say something, but the moment you do, you feel better. So I towards the end of my contract at Chelsea, they said to me, oh, we want you to see a psychiatrist. So I did see one. Everyone's different. For me, the guy was great. You know, we got on really well, but I didn't really feel like I needed to actually see one. I just like to be independent. I like to be on my own. But I highly recommend it still to boys because everyone's different, and the more they can speak out. Like if you think about it in football, you know, like say you're at Salford, if you're feeling low, like who are you going to see? Well, you're not going to go to the manager really because you don't want him. Boys could potentially feel like speaking to him could maybe look like they're weak. Same with the other coaches. I mean, the kit men are the only ones that you can kind of have that different relation, aren't they? Really, like. So I do feel like they need someone there, the club, as a title to be for boys to know that person's there and it's confidential between you and them. Yeah.
Do you think how, you know, that whole thing like you just said about, you think it's weak to speak up about these things and to have issues off the pitch? How do you kind of see that? And, you know, obviously that's a big problem.
It's huge. I think that's why these boys are committing suicide, because they don't want to speak out. You don't think, you know, you can't really control that if that's how you're feeling. You know, it's just a real sensitive subject, I suppose. Like, and the only advice we kind of know and to give is to just speak out. You know,
talk about it.
I mean, real men cry. Do you know what I mean? Or they get upset. You know what I mean, real men cry. You know, that's facts. So, you know, to speak out doesn't make you weak at all. If anything, it makes you strong because you're doing it.
Exactly.
I couldn't stress enough. I'm sure you'll agree. You know what I mean? Like, people are here. You know, they might not think it, but, you know, I'm always here for people. You'd be the same, you know. Just because I don't know someone doesn't mean I don't want to speak to them, help them. I've had people message me in the past, like last year, I think I'd done a live with one of my mates, just speaking about our backgrounds. He was he's a boxer, and obviously me being a footballer. And after it, just had loads of people saying, "Oh, thanks for that. It was inspiring. I've had this injury and I've been through this," and it was nice because you can just day-to-day people just help them or just try and help, give little bit of it. They might think, "Oh, I appreciate that." Just speak out. Yeah, it's difficult. It's a difficult subject, isn't it?
I think the true sign of kind of bravery and courage and even being alpha is being able to show your vulnerability and not be like, and that's like, this is who I am, this is the reality of it. And I think you've shown that acceptance of, you know, the mental health side, the injuries, your whole journey, the acceptance of all of it. And I think that is what shows such courage and strength, even though it's been so misconstrued in our society, especially in football, that it's a bad thing to be vulnerable, it's a bad thing to be sensitive, it's a bad thing to have all these kind of, you know, to be open and actually face them. But it's, like you said, this podcast and all the other, you know, the things that people are doing, or the people that have been on it, like Ali with his Instagram lives, they're incredible things. And I think that's what we can do as a minimum with the platforms that we have.
100%. Their podcasts are huge. Like, I respect what you're doing, you know what I mean? Because people watch and they can just relate, you know what I mean? These people are feeling, they watch it and they think, oh, he's been through similar to what I've been through, you know, it's not just me, or, oh, I can reach out to him, you know. So they're just great. And also, people don't have to let anyone know they're watching it either, do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're only on their phone, they're watching it, you know what I mean? So it's powerful. I would say it's powerful. I'm currently in the middle of like trying to sort out a documentary that I want to do, just to kind of explain my story in a bit of detail, just for the purpose of painting the picture, so people won't have an understanding of kind of what I've been through. Only for me to say, this is what I've been through, and I want to help others, and I want to be on the journey together. So that's what I'm trying to put something together, just like a one-off thing, just so people can know that I'm here for them as well, you know.
And they can get through it too.
Yeah.
I think it's important to kind of also kind of understand you as a human as well. So kind of what do you value away from the pitch, and, you know, what's important to you off that?
Family. Yeah, family. You know, we had you know, a tragic thing happen last March where my dad's brother, so my only uncle, committed suicide. So again, it's just another reason it relates to home, the whole mental health, not just in football, but just in life. And we had him. He sadly committed suicide. So I've had it the closest to home. You know, my dad's, you know, it was his only sibling, and my like I said to you earlier on in the podcast, my cousin lost his mum, and then that's who he lost his. So family just makes you makes you realize how important they are, and it shouldn't, but it almost takes something like that for people to really realize how important it is. And just family, my own health as well, you know, invest in a lot of time and money into myself, you know, which I've only recently discovered, you know, and when I say that, I mean like my training off the pitch, my eating, my supplement, my treatment, my massage, like all of it is so important just for the mind as well, just to keep yourself healthy. Because I've been that kid who's gone into nightclubs 18 years of age, 19 years of age, and spunk stupid money. You know what I mean? But you have to go there and you have to experience it, you know. So I feel like I've experienced all that stuff, and it's important, but you learn from it at the same time. So I think definitely family and your own health and people around you that you care about. Because like you could probably agree with me, I could count my closest friends on one hand that I could trust with my life, you know. And everyone else, they're not irrelevant, but when it comes to being there and you know that they're there for you, those are the people that obviously I care about the most. And everyone else, you're polite to everyone, and you know, you wish them all well, but at the end of the day, you've got to care about who cares about you, right?
Yeah, and obviously your inner circles is your inner circle for a reason. I think it's also important to highlight how much kind of giving you do, and I saw the story about getting dad a car and stuff like that. That's great to see, and like obviously to see this value of giving that you're doing to try and speak out about it and help others. I think that's so important, and as like you said, having that Instagram live, so many people look up to footballers, and so many people look up to top athletes, and to just be honest and open and say this is we're people as well. We go through the same stuff you do. And people are going to take in all of that. People are going to, absolutely, hold on to every word that a footballer says. And even though that's an identity thing, we got you can do the best with it you can and use that for a good thing.
Yeah, 100%, mate.
Moving forward, kind of last kind of bit. So for the future, kind of who do you want to be in the future? What's that kind of future self, the future player, the future person that is kind of who you're striving to be? What do you focus on? What's next?
I've learned just it's day by day stuff, Like in the past, maybe you think too far ahead, but if you just take it day by day, then it's realistic, because you're it's only around the corner. So kind of just taking it day by, just going with the flow, just having fun with it, Just that's it now. There's no pressure. I don't put any pressure on myself. I've never really done that, I just got to enjoy it, and what will be. And if you put the work in, or, you kind of get well, to be fair, that saying, I always used to say you get what you deserve. And then I thought, well, fuck about all my stuff. I don't deserve this. So I can't really say that. But if you put the work in, then, good things will come. So I just day by day, I'd like to obviously have a real good career. I'm 22. I've had all the injuries, but they're all past me now. Do you know what I mean? I'm not been God knows how long, touch wood, and just going with the flow. And I believe my ability that I can play at a real good level. So it's a time to show that now. I believe I've got the confidence, not arrogance. There's difference. I've got the confidence. I've got self-belief in myself, and and just in life. I've learned so much in this footballing journey. That no one would have wanted to kind of go on the road, but you learn so much from it at the same time. There's a lot of positives, there's a lot of negatives, but I've learned a lot, so just going forward, just day by day, and kind of I know where I want to be. I know who I am now. I know what I'm capable of doing. To
trust that, yeah. And then finally, what makes you more than an athlete, more than a footballer? What makes you human? What makes you a regular person?
I don't get it. What do you mean?
Like, this is the question we ask at all of them. Just like, obviously, everyone just knows you as Charlie the footballer. But what is it about you that's just the normal guy that just like every other person?
I'm just a normal guy, I suppose, from Brighton. Just normal family background, middle class. I think everyone's different, because if you're inherited into lots of money, then that's kind of the person you potentially are. Or if you're really poor, like everyone's different. But I'm just a normal kid. Like, do you know what I mean? I've got normal friends outside of football, and I'm just a real honest person. When it comes to life, there's no real beating around the bush. It's just honesty and respect and realism.
Brilliant. Before we end, is there any advice you kind of give to the people listening, but the strong ones that listen to the end?
I'm here. Do you know what I mean? I'm here for people. I think that's important to say that. And you just got to, like, what I mean? It's never over. Do you know what I mean? You always got to have that. As long as you've always got that bit of belief, then, you're still capable of achieving it. Just always have that belief, There's going to be real dark times, but that's all part of it. That's all. That's why we do it, right?
Yep.
But so that the good times are so good when they come. So I suppose just keep going. Self-belief, so important. And speak. Don't be afraid to speak to people. And just have fun with it as well.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And like you said, everyone's going to struggle. Everyone's got suffering. Everyone's got a story. but the one thing you can decide is how you react to that. And like I saw this quote, it said, I may struggle, you may struggle, but we don't quit. And that's like, what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But I think you've spoken brilliantly and given an incredible insight into your story. And I think people can take so much from that listening. And like you said, he's always there, you're always there. And I think if he can get through this and he's still standing talking about it and doing this now, anyone listening, you can do it too. So I think it's a great inspiring story. So thank you for coming on.
No, thanks for having me on.
Brilliant. Thank you.
No worries, man.